Hi, and welcome to the Casual Clinician. My name is Colette. If it's your first time tuning in, I'm a licensed therapist and best known for being clinically trained, intuition powered, and spirit led. And a part of what I like to do is to provide information, to provide energy, to provide perspective around anything that has to do with being a human, anything that has to do with being someone who is here within earshot on this earth in a way that can really help people get connected to the truth of who they are. That is what I do, and that is who I be, who I am. So today the topic is your story. So I want to be able to talk about our stories and specifically what our story is connected to. For those of you who do not know, I mix some modern practices with a little bit of ancient practices. So here is going to be a taste of a little bit of the woo-woo if you are not familiar with that. When it comes to our stories, I think about the things that I hear people saying about themselves. I think about the things that I've said about myself too. We grow up with these influences, we grow up with these things that we're exposed to. Yes, of course, society and the media. Yes, of course, our families and anyone who has any kind of impact on our upbringing. And when it comes to our stories, we also grow up with and create these narratives around ourselves. So, yes, we have these outside influences that really impact us, but we also end up really, really, really constructing narratives and stories about ourselves that can be very interesting, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. Our stories about ourselves can be really interesting. So I asked the question, what is it that happens if you travel beyond that story? What is it that happens? What are you if you travel beyond whatever narrative you hold for yourself? If you travel beyond whatever narrative your family holds for you, society holds for you, the media holds for you, what are you if you travel beyond that? When it comes to faith, spirituality, or even just biological aspects of who we are, when we lean into those things, into historical biology or into faith and or into spirituality, our story isn't just of our earthly experiences. Our story isn't just about our earthly wounds either. When it comes to our stories, and when we look at it from a lens of faith, spirituality, or even the biological aspects, our stories go beyond what we've experienced here. I was watching a movie this past weekend, and the movie was Madam Web, and the quote was, "Go back to the beginning, and then go beyond that. Go back to the beginning, and then go beyond that." I ended up pausing the movie, had this whole moment of just writing what was coming up within me about me. Go back to the beginning. I heard that as go back to your birth and then go beyond that. What also comes up for me when I think about my story and what it's connected to, when I think about people's stories and what it's connected to, what I think about there is if energy can't be created or destroyed, if I believe that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, then I am a part of that energy. My energy, who I be, is a part of what could not have been created nor destroyed in the sense that there was something before I was me. Now, hang with me in there again. It's just a little bit of the woo in there with that. But for me, that means that at some juncture, I was connected to source. At some juncture, I was connected to God or to love, or I was connected to beings that didn't collect experiences and wounds in order to create a narrative about ourselves. If energy cannot be created nor destroyed, if I have a story beyond that of which I was born into, beyond that of which I've created for myself, if there was a time that I was part of source of this energy of God, of love, of beings that's beyond my understanding right now, then what is it that gives me access to today in this vessel, in this with this energy in this body? What do I have access to? What do I have access to? A lot of times I see and hear people developing these stories of overcoming. My question, if you have a story of overcoming, and let me back up before I ask my question. A story of overcoming is I grew up in this tough area, but I made it out. I grew up with these difficult experiences, but I survived. I grew up in or I experienced this thing and I have overcome. I have triumphed over that experience. My question for folks who tell a story of overcoming, as a person who used to tell that story, is why do you need that story? What is it that having that story about yourself, what does it give you? Like, really take some time to think about that. I can tell you in my experience between myself and other folks that I've known that's gone through that story of overcoming, that's usually what folks were using. That is usually what I was using to tap into some sense of power, to tap into some sense of hope, to some sense of purpose on why I would have experienced these things, or some sense of worth on, look what I've been able to do. I've been able to be here or experience this, and now I'm in a different place. Why do you need to be connected to your story of overcoming if you relate to that piece? And then it led to deeper questions of, is there a different way that I can tap into my power? Is there a different way that I can tap into hope? Is there a different way that I can tap into whatever it is that gives me a sense of purpose and worth? And can I envision? Can I, even if I can't really see it, can I envision a truth that my connection to power, my connection to hope, my connection to purpose can be something that is beyond what my eyes can see? Because I know I've come from source, God, love, beings that didn't just collect experiences and wounds to overcome. What is it that where you've come from beyond your birth, what does that give you access to? What power, what hope, what strength does that give you access to? What peace does that give you access to? If I'm not a story of collected traumas and wounds, what does that mean about me? If I feel like I need that story, what is it giving me? What do I think it's giving me? If I feel like I need a story of my collected wounds and traumas and my difficult experiences, and I want to say it is okay to be where you are. If it feels like what fuels you is a story of overcoming, if it feels like what protects you is remembering the wounds and the ways that you've been hurt, there's nothing wrong with being able to hold yourself in a place of compassion or in a way of compassion, even as you hold on to those stories. What I encourage you to do, though, is be willing to explore what those stories give you. What I found and what I found in my work with people and supporting healing is that as those stories gave, those stories were also extracting, those stories were also taking away from. I've not met a person who had a story of overcoming, who told a story in a way of overcoming that it didn't also take a little bit from them because so much of their identity was wrapped up in the ability to overcome that they couldn't even see where things could be easy or where there could be ease in their life because their strength, their power was coming from this place of being able to overcome hurdles. They lived a life of jumping over hurdles when they could have walked around in some areas. What is your story connected to? How could your story be giving to you or extracting from you? Is it possible that if you go back to the beginning of you and then go beyond that, that you really get connected to your true sense of power, your true sense of hope, your true sense of love, your true sense of being? What's your belief around your energy, your being, your personness? What are your beliefs around that? What is the story that you tell? And how can you open to being curious about a story that goes beyond what you've told yourself and what others have told you?